I get to sit here today with Mr. Jimmy Tang. And I say that with huge enthusiasm because this has been a journey. I'm trying to remember when we first met, but it was, I'm going to guess like 2008. Is that about right?
Yeah.
So to me, all by itself, I think that's cool because since Power Players in 2008, you've been busy. Real busy. Everybody knows that. We're going to get to that. But I first of all, thanks for being here. This is not on your way to any place. So thanks for coming out to the podcast booth, as it were.
Yeah.
And I want you to start, Jimmy, by telling us about, the formative years, like those early wiring years, where the influences that were around you. What did life look like when you were a kid? Your mom, your dad, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. Walk through that with me, would you?
I would say starting off at about 4 years old, or maybe in 4 months, losing my dad, and then around 4 years old, after the Vietnam War, having the opportunity to come to America. Not sure what my mom was thinking at the time, but, she had a decision to make of being able to come with us or give up her parental rights to my uncle on my dad's side to allow us to come to America.
Okay, pause. Go back a little bit. You lost your dad at
4 months.
4 months old. And how did you lose your dad?
I believe he had an ulcer.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So do you have any memory at all of your dad?
No.
Just, have you seen pictures?
Pictures of
wow.
his wedding day.
Wow.
Yeah. A few pictures.
And did you have siblings older than you?
Yeah, I have an older sister and an older brother.
And do you hear stories of your dad from them?
Not really from them, but more from my uncle and my aunts. I mean, he had a total of about 10 siblings.
I see.
So they had stories.
Yeah.
Some were good, some were not good. So yeah.
Do you feel that you have any part of your dad from what the stories you've been told?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. What parts?
The not so good part is probably my short temper. I think that's really it. Yeah.
Huh. So your mom had to make a decision. Wow. Boy, your mom was going through it right there,
yeah.
right? I mean, so she's without a husband, father, and at age 4, she has to make this decision to go or not go, and to let you go with others or not.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I'm just trying to take myself as a parent to that place right there of going, you're alone and now you're making these kinds of decisions. How old was your mom at the time?
I think she was probably around 20, 22.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So take it from there. What did she decide? How did it go from age 4?
Yeah. So, she made the decision to let my uncle adopt us. And then so we went to, I believe, Malaysia and Philippines and Thailand for about 6 months, stayed in the refugee camp, and then eventually flew to America and landed in Seattle. And then, of course, was raised by my grandmother most of the time because my uncle had to go to work. And, we were crammed in a 2-bedroom apartment on, I think it was 29th Avenue by Franklin High School for a few years. Probably 5, 6 of us in probably 2 bedrooms. And then eventually we got to move to Rainer Vista, which is a lot of low-income duplexes that were built for the war. Mm-hmm. And so they're the Seattle Housing Authority, that's the people that was in charge of just renting to all the low income people. And yeah, we lived there probably until I was 18. And that's when they were gonna demo it all and rebuild and have a mixed use neighborhood. And growing up, without any male mentors or anyone to really look up to, because my uncle was hardly home and I barely saw him. I just figured out, seeing my grandmother struggle and, not having a lot of money, I just started looking for ways to make money, Did a newspaper route when I was probably 12, 13 around the neighborhood, packing all the newspaper in the back and the front and just throwing it at the doors. And then I finally got a begging job at Safeway at 15, making $5 an hour. And I thought that was a lot of money. I was really happy about that job. So I would either bike down there or walk myself down there to the store to work. And I was I really just found ways to just, be self-sufficient and try to make money and help out where I can with the bills and stuff like that. And so that was always been my mentality of always trying to work, make money. Didn't have time for like a lot of fun stuff that high school kids got to do. So I was always just focusing on work.
How were your? Did you have any English skills when you came to the United States?
No.
Zero.
I mean, we were in ESL classes all the way up till 3rd grade, and then somehow they thought my English was good enough to transfer me to a different elementary that didn't have ESL classes. But yeah, we learned.
I don't know. I can hit a pause button in my own mind and go, I don't know. I'm inspired doubly when I hear that really there wasn't anything to start with other than survival. That was kind of the name of the game. And many of us, I didn't know that life. It wasn't over the top, but there were people working for me so that I could go to school and play sports and do those things. And of course I knew English. I mean, just that much alone gives, I just feel like I had a huge advantage. And I've sat here with so many, I think the last one was Pham, who also from Vietnam, who, wow, get on a boat. We don't even know what shore we're going to hit, but it's better than where we are. Wow, that kind of thing. I don't know how to relate, but you found a way. So now high school, and they move you out because they're going to redevelop this place. What do you do after high school?
I went to college. We moved to Kent, and then I went to college. Did 4 years at UW, and then another 2 years to get my master's.
Did you have a scholarship to get you in there? Did
No,
you work your way through
loans,
college?
Yeah,
Yep.
Stafford loans, and working my way through. At the time, was called the Bon Marché or Macy's, but I was in the back office. So I was working there part-time after classes, and then after work, went home, did homework and stuff. But yeah, I put myself through college with working there.
And then a master's degree following that.
Yeah.
In what?
Computer science.
Yeah. Again, there is no free lunch. You did it yourself, and I love that. Yeah, an old husky. So where did real estate enter the picture in your mind? So now you're like, what, 22, 23 with these competencies. Did you start out in the computer world and computer science?
Yeah. I mean, that was the job that paid the bills and stuff.
Yeah.
I definitely, wasn't my passion. It's just growing up in technology became, computer programming was the job to get, So I just went in, and luckily, I know enough to get a good job and stuff, but that wasn't where I was really passionate about. But as far as real estate, I think watching Carlton Sheets at night, late at night, No Money Down. But I think it was the book of Rich Dad, Poor Dad that really got me thinking about passive income. And so that's when I started hunting down for some real estate deals. And I bought my first 2 duplexes in Tacoma when I was about 24. Both of them at the same time. One was 0 down, the other one was 10% down. Because one of them I was going to claim as my primary, the other one was the investment property. And I believe that was on like a 5-year arm. And so...
what year was that? Do you remember?
2004.
2004. Yeah. Wow. Wow.
And then learn all the things of being a landlord, from fixing things, painting, when the tenants move out, writing leases, everything. From fixing bulbs and all that is good. It was a good learning lesson.
Do you remember what you paid for those duplexes?
$175 each. Yeah.
That says a lot about real estate, doesn't it?
Yeah, $650 a month per unit, and it was.
Yeah, wow, fantastic. Okay, so you got a little duplexes under your belt, and did that hook you? Were you working your computer job at the same time?
Still, yeah. And then we started looking for then we started getting into flips, and so. Started looking for flips, did some flips, and then of course 2008 happened, and had to hang on to some of those houses where we thought we were just going to sell, but we had to hang on to them and rent it out.
Yeah. Well, and it's good that your financing allowed you to hang on. However, it was financed. A lot of people during 2007-ish, they were getting very aggressive around flips, and they had some 6-month 12% hard money, and all of a sudden things shift, and the lenders on them, and they've got a double problem now, because they really couldn't just keep and rent because their loan was due. So
surprisingly, this is actually before I even learned about hard money. This is actually acquiring it through conventional loan, and then just funding the rehab out of my own pocket, or borrowing from my aunt or my sister. Yeah.
Right. Wow. Okay. So by the time you get through that 2008, when did it start up again for you?
2012.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but in 2008, that's when you went to Power Players.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was decent timing, learning about owner financing, right?
And I think that's one of my biggest regret is that I didn't take what we learned and actually did more with it. As far as, during that time, I believe we could have gotten way more deals.
Oh,
and
it was heyday for owner finance deals back then.
And I think that's my biggest regret is not having... At that time, I think I should have, we should have talked more and try to go through that cycle together. But I think I was just so burnt out with the real estate and didn't want nothing to do with it until about 2012.
Yeah. What'd you do in that interim?
I was still my corporate job.
Just corporate job. Yep. Yeah. That you didn't necessarily like, but it paid the bills. Yeah.
But again, I think that is my lesson to the audience is that, during that time, if I can do it over again, it's like, hopefully I wish I had a mentor that helped me through that time, because as an investor, that is the best time that you have been waiting for, right?
Yeah.
It's the cycle to go down so that you can, as an investor, buy as many as you can.
Right.
Because when the upswing happened in 2013, 14, 15, that's when you want to sell, right? But I didn't have anyone to really talk things through with at that time, and that's probably one of my biggest regrets. And so I'm not making that mistake again during this time.
I think that when you get really, really familiar with the tools, really competent with the tools, it's like having a tackle box. You're waiting with tools for certain swings, which we're in one right now. The world of owner financing right now, and all of the lettuce and tomatoes that we talk about is just being written up every single day right now. I could show you 4 deals in the last week that I'm reviewing for students that its heyday because they perceive bank money as ugly, right? Banks are getting tighter, right? The criteria and the debt coverage and the down payment and all of the global qualification is getting more strict because there's so many unknowns in the economy. And of course, days on market make sellers more motivated, right? They see that, well, things aren't selling, so people who want to sell are now listening. They're listening for a solution.
Yeah.
And here you come with that toolbox to say, here's how I could structure it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it's lessons learned, right?
Yes.
Tell me about the world of construction, because remodeling and new construction,
Yeah.
I see so many people that buy, remodel, and how many thousands of times have I said, I want you to think about new construction. It's actually more predictable,
Yeah.
more reasonable. You get into a old house and 1920s house, it seems like it's exploratory surgery and nothing ever goes better than you thought it would. It always costs more and takes longer.
Right.
When did you make that transition to really doing a lot of new construction?
So when I got back into, real estate in 2012, we did more wholesaling, built up my capital, and then we started flipping again. And then the flips got bigger and bigger. Like we were buying one house that had no wall in the back because of a fire. So we were rebuilding a house anyways. And another one we bought in West Seattle that we took all the way down to foundation. So it's just like one after another. I'm like, oh, this is just so much easier to budget, and everything's brand new,
right?
And that's just more appealing to the buyers,
right?
When they don't have to second guess what's behind the wall and what you did or you didn't do,
right,
or upgrade. So then we'll probably transition mostly to new construction around 2015, 16. And we were building, I would say, luxury, bigger homes, around 3,000 square feet homes, and that was our main focus. And we didn't do a lot of flips anymore.
Yeah. And beautiful homes and infill, a lot of infill.
Yeah.
You were taking out something really crappy a lot of times.
Yeah,
right?
and it was one for one. Like we took one house down, and then we built up a bigger house, nicer house.
So tell me about that negotiation when somebody's got their crappy house on the market and they think the structure has some value, but it really doesn't. It's a deficit.
Yeah,
you got to pay to haul it away. How do you negotiate that? Were these listed properties or were these off market?
A combination of both, but mostly off market. And we just show them the comps of what the same size houses are selling for, and if they are upgraded, of course they're going to get more, right? But we tell them, well, I mean, look at your house. It's not in the same shape. It hasn't been remodeled, and so I think a fair price. If you put in this amount of money to rehab it, you might get the same amount, right? But if you don't want to go through that trouble, this is what I can offer you. And one of the awesome house that we bought was in Wedgwood, that we actually got seller financing at $500,000 at 5% for 5 years. And we demoed that house and built up a nice farmhouse. And then after that, we did a little slice and dice and split it into two $250,000 notes and moved it to my rental. And then we kept on using it until 5 years.
Substitute the collateral, slice the note, substitute the collateral.
Yep.
Now it's free and clear. Did you sell it?
Yeah, we sold it for like 2 point something million.
Yeah, and with no debt to pay off except your construction, paying back whatever that was. Yeah, I mean, these are the tools in motion. Yeah. And by the way, probably 1 out of 1,000 people that listen to this podcast is going to understand that. But it's a language.
Yeah.
When you get it, you know it, you get it, you use it. So that's fantastic. Give me let's stay with new construction of single family homes. No, we're really getting into a whole different level with dadus and ADUs. We'll get there. But with that home, do you reverse engineer what you can pay for the dirt based around the end price that you see you can build a house for. Okay. I try to talk to people about this, that a builder generally, and I'm asking, not telling, but I know the formula I use, can pay about 30% for cleared dirt, ready to build, to the value of what they're going to be asking for the house. Now, there's a lot of variable. How big's the house, this, that. So the conforming house. But if you're going to build a house worth $1 million, conceivably you could pay, $300,000 for the dirt.
Right.
Do you have a formula, something like that in your head?
It was very close. Of course, 30% is, I think, on the higher side of what we would like, but that's what we were shooting for, is around 20 to 30% of the ARV. But that's the issue that we ran into when the market got so hot, and so we weren't be able to buy that percent and make the profit that we want to make, which is usually around 15 to 20% more.
Right.
So then we had to pivot, and we'll talk about the other stuff that
solutions.
what we pivoted to.
Right.
And so it's just the market became, with all the other builders and flippers that are buying.
Yeah.
They were just the prices was going up too quickly.
Yeah. And people would look at it from a rehab perspective. They'd undervalue the cost of the rehab. They'd see some house in Ballard. Let's just take what you and I'd call a teardown.
Yeah.
And it would come on the market at $700,000, and people would just flock to it because they think, oh my God, Ballard for $700,000. But it's a teardown. And yet they would think, I'm going to buy it for $7, spend $70 remodeling it, which you go, where and how? And then I'm going to put it back on the market for $880, and they think they're making money.
Yeah.
And you go, no. I look at it and go, man, if I paid $700 and I'm going to spend $50 scraping it and getting it out of here, I'm $750 into it. I've got to build something for $2.3 million to just feel like I'm in the ball game. And is this really where you want to build a $2.3 million house next door to 1,200 square foot 1940 built bungalows?
Yeah.
It didn't fit. And so there was a real disconnect there when values went up so high of existing product for the builder. It was hard to find one that it worked. Yeah. Okay, solution, and we got a little help with the solution, of course, with density laws. Let's talk about the changes in your market in Seattle with density laws changing over the last 7-8 years.
Yeah. So around 2019, I believe, is when they passed the law for us to do 2 ADUs in Seattle. And that, again, I just happened to get lucky, and I was checking out some comps, and I saw this one sold listing that was, sold on a 1,200 square foot lot. And I said, I was thinking to myself, I thought, you had to have the minimum of 3,200 square feet to build something in Seattle. And as I dug into it, more, and
how did they do that?
Yeah, and it's a HOA, and there's a condo, and you call it a condo. I'm like, what? And then so I reached out to the builder and asked him for advice and tips, and he explained to me what he did, and I was like, okay, we can do this, all right. And then then next thing you know, I think we just pivoted the whole business to ADUs and DADUs.
And in a sense, if that existing structure is rehabable, okay, great, rehab it. If it's not, okay, you can still put more back on this lot than just one house if you scrape it. So either way, it's giving you a lot more options. The ADU attached, the DADU detached, accessory dwelling units. Yeah. Give me some of the codes in terms of how big those can be. Do they have to both be attached? Can they both be detached? What are the rules, how they've evolved? Because I think it's the evolution of rules, and the person who's on top of it is the one that's going to benefit from this. So,
well, as of now, we can do 2 detached, and this is for the whole state of Washington now.
Right.
So it was passed in 2023, but it was the state gave all the cities until July 1st of this year to implement it in their jurisdiction. So yeah, now you can do 2 detached and then go up to 1,200. Well, some cities are different, but let's just say Seattle is, you can go up to 1,200 square feet now, 3 stories now instead of 2 like before. Garages don't count towards the square footage. So you can actually put, 1,200 plus another 250. So, I think that's a big change and big help that the dados can go up to 3 stories because, again, our
smaller footprint.
Yeah, for smaller footprint, and most of our lots in Seattle is about 5,000, which is not very big when you're trying to fit in parking spaces and stuff. And is it required? No, the parking spaces aren't required, but is it more appealing to the buyers? Yes.
Sure.
Because we're running out of sidewalk parking spaces as well, right?
Right.
So any off-street parking will be more appealing to the buyers or even renters.
Absolutely.
So it's easier for them to get to their house. So it's whenever you can fit it in, I would definitely put that in your design.
Yeah. So theoretically, you buy a crappy house, 5,000 square foot lot. Okay, scrape the house. Alley access is important, which a lot of Seattle has alley, street.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can build the main and then 2 dados and 2-car garages on both dados and the house. So you can park 6 off street, theoretically. It's tough design. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Tell me about what you've learned when you do a condo overlay on that. I have a couple of questions on this. Okay. One, you've remodeled a house. Let's say it's, a 1930s house. You remodel it. It's on the front of the lot. Putting that in the same condo association as a new construction in back.
Yeah.
In terms of condo docks and reserves and the kind of things that normally go into a condominium, treat all of the structures the same. In other words, the person owns the structure on the inside out, but on the outside, and yet here this remodeled house, right, is going to have more exterior issues. Right?
Yeah.
Than maybe the new ones, you would think.
Yeah.
How is that compensated for? And most important how is it seen in the marketplace? Is it better if everything is brand new and matching and conforming?
Definitely I would think everybody would want everything new, right? But if you remodel the existing house and paint it and make it look like new and part of the community, I think it would sell as well or as appealing. But as far as the responsibility of the HOA and the condo docs, the owner will be still responsible for their unit, exterior, interior. The only thing that the HOA will be responsible for is like the common elements, which is probably the parking court or the walkway to the mailbox, things like that. Where
fencing, maybe
fencing, yeah. So that would be really,
common area landscaping.
Yeah. But again, we try to divide it up so that everyone knows their section of their yard, right? So that's your yard. You fix whatever's in your yard. Yeah. So we try to make it as clear as possible. So you can divide
the responsibilities within the common areas. Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. So let's talk price per square foot of the main house up front. Let's say you remodeled 2,500 feet. Okay. And then you built 2,000 square foot dados on the same property, okay, with their garages, so 1,250 roughly. Does the new construction sell for significantly more per foot than the remodeled?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
Another
reason why, if that remodel is a major remodel, you might want to just start over.
Yeah, so for a good example was a project up in Maple Leaf that we bought a 1,800 square foot existing home, 2 floors, and we turned that into an ADU and built the SFR or single family, and a dadu. And the dadu is 1,000 square feet with a single car garage, 250 square feet. And that one we sold for $950,000. The ADU that was 1,800 square feet that I thought it was going to be 1.1 ended up selling for $900,000. And so people I think just prefer new stuff, and I think it's all, it goes back to being concerned about there might be something breaking, even though we did give them a list of everything we upgraded and with permits and everything. So, people still have the perception of they want something new, and they definitely paid quite a premium for that.
Okay, let's talk about the buyer who buys that 1,100 foot dadu in back, and it's 3 stories. This isn't some 65-year-old buyer.
No.
Young people who want it turnkey.
Yep.
They don't really want to mess with anything.
Yep.
I can feel that. I could see that that's who would be the perfect buyer for that. A young couple or a young person that just has their space and they come and go. They don't want to mess with anything else.
Or parents buying it for their kids.
Right.
Because it's a really good size starter home.
Yeah.
That is like less maintenance for them.
Right.
And so, not a lot of people who buy homes know how to maintain homes. So
right. Exactly.
when you have a new home, it's less maintenance. So
yeah. Is there a do you reverse engineer the locations that you hunt for that have, like, for example, South Lake Union draws a very young crowd that's working at Amazon and Microsoft and the Gates Foundation and all these young tech jobs. Do you target certain areas knowing that that particular person wants to be close to here and therefore the foot of Queen Anne is a premium spot for this?
Yeah. I mean, we definitely always want to be in the core areas of any city that you would do this for. It has to make sense where it's not affordable to buy a single family, but you can afford a dadu, right?
Right.
But it wouldn't make sense if you go further out from the high density popular neighborhoods. If you went to somewhere in Shoreline, people can still buy $600,000-$700,000 house with a yard. So it wouldn't make sense to really build something like that over there.
Right.
And when we target areas of like Queen Anne or Wallingford, I mean, we always look for who we think the buyers are and sort of cater our design to that buyer, right?
Right.
So we put a little bit more high-end stuff or tiles and different finishes than we would put in Maple Leaf, West Seattle. So but we always check the price point that we're going to sell it at, and so our finish is based on that. Yeah,
reverse engineer your finishes based on that. Yeah. And it's so systematically, and maybe coming off of Maui where we talked a little bit about AI, that was amazing. But in terms of hunting for certain kind of lots that are, for example, you could go to the title company and say, okay, I want every single family lot in this area. I want it 5,000 feet. I want it with alley access. I want it where the house is set up front or in back, but not in the middle. That used to be a real process to get that. Is it, with AI, is that something that's made very simple right now?
I haven't really personally tried it, but I believe it's possible. I mean, have friends that created, where you would put in an address and it would tell you how many units you can put there and what would be the best exit strategy. Just because you could fit 4 or 6 units on that lot does not mean you should put 4 or 6 units. It can just say, save that house and build 2 more.
Right.
And your cash on cash would be higher than if you would scrape it and put 4 there.
Right.
Because you make more sales as a sales price, but your construction cost also goes up and probably even more time, right?
Right.
So the easy route and maybe the shortest is just fix that house, build 2 or 3 more. So, they built that software. And so I believe AI can probably do very similar things with that. So it's exciting. It's exciting to try to incorporate more AI stuff in farming and marketing.
You can picture, Jimmy, what would be the east side of the hill of Magnolia. So it looks down on Inner Bay, that whole east side. I had a student way back in the day when I taught at Seattle Pacific University that he lived on that hillside, kind of right dead in the middle off Dravis. And that whole hillside is zoned, I should say much of it is zoned L3. Okay, so at the time, L3, 800 feet of dirt per dwelling unit, right? And here's these 5,000-foot lots. Well, he literally hasn't left that hill in 25 years. Because he just knows every house that's either built in back or in front, and he'll build a duplex or a triplex in the back or the front, and his projects have never left that hill.
Yeah.
Now that L3's it, and the reason he's been able to do it forever is the zoning is high density multifamily. He'll leave the house and he'll build 2 or 3 more units, right? Real simple. The zoning's conforming. What I try to tell people is now every lot in Seattle now, think of it as zoned L3 because it has the same density capacity.
Right. Yeah. So unfortunately, or I don't know, fortunately, is like all the L zoning owners, I think their value of their land actually went down.
Of course it did. Of course it did.
Yeah. It's not because you can do basically the same thing on single family zoning, but also the MHA fees that, that the city is enforcing on us, and it just doesn't make sense anymore. And all the sellers have these numbers in their head from previous offers that right now eventually I think they're going to come,
Well, it's changing all of that, which is really my point, is that, now that same opportunity to do that in a residential zone used to be the multifamily zone was much more expensive than the residential zone for that size lot in the city. Well, that's not so anymore.
Yeah.
And but I think that it's interesting. He sort of got a jump on because of the zoning on that hill of what is happening a lot right now. Tell me. I want people to understand the nuances of ADU, because the attached dwelling unit. It doesn't always mean it's attached, right? Have you played with that code at all?
Well, so when they say attached, I mean, literally, you don't have to go all the way from ground floor all the way to third floor. I mean, we designed where we put a powder bathroom, and that is connecting from the second story. So that way you can still walk underneath and not around the building to go get your mail. So that's helped. And then we also put in like just a mechanical closet that attaches the 2 houses. Because it's always been the ADU, it's the last unit to sell, because it's just the less desirable one, because you're attached to the single family, and people don't really like to be attached because it's just the noise thing. But again, that's going to be a moot point, because now we're able to do 2 dadus.
But you could do 1 ADU and 2 dadus, right?
No.
Okay, 2 dadus.
Not yet. Maybe in another 5 years.
Okay, so 2 dadus or an ADU and a dadu.
Yeah, I mean,
One of the
I don't
two.
think anyone's gonna want to do an ADU ever again. Yeah.
There's I don't know, it may still be available, but there was a rule in Snohomish County, which again, all this has changed in Snohomish County too, the whole state, but there used to be a rule that residential zoning plus a half a zoning, you could build a duplex in a residential zone. Okay, so if you had a lot that was 7,200 square feet, and single family zone 7,200. If your lot happened to be 72 plus half of that, 36, so 10.8, you could build a duplex on a 10.8 lot.
Yeah.
well, what's a duplex?
Yeah.
So that was a question that was asked. And it's like, well, a duplex is 2 units that are attached. Okay, well, what's attached?
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, I went in with a set of drawings of essentially 2 houses,
Uh-huh.
two-story houses,
Yeah.
with this little umbilical connecting them that kind of covered the garbage cans,
Yeah.
like this little shed roof that was 5 feet wide with garbage cans underneath it. And the fence running right down the middle of the umbilical, but the umbilical connected, and it was connected by a roof line. So roof line up here, roof line. And that was a legal duplex. And then back in the day, condoing them out was a new thing. But that was something that when I got that approved, we did a lot of those.
Yeah.
Because it was finding the opportunity within the code that, well, what is a duplex? What is it? And so, I see a lot of that exploration going on right now in this world.
Yeah.
What is it? What is a dadu, and how big can it be? And what about this? And what about that? And can you build 3 stories with a rooftop deck? And, all of those kinds of things are happening. What are you finding is like the template that if you were to rinse and repeat right now, give me a formula that for you, starting with a 5,000 foot lot, that if you could buy the lot for X, here's what you would do, and this what you could expect.
I think for anyone starting is the easiest project, but to buy an existing home, and whatever the cost to rehab is, they can sell that and break even, because you want to get your land at, as low as possible or free, or even in negative, right? Somehow you make profit on the existing house, and then you can build 1 or 2 more, and that's good enough that you'll make quite a bit of profit on that one.
Right, because you're building on free dirt, basically.
And that's what you should try to achieve, is getting that house for, sell that house to break even and getting the dirt for free.
So in order to sell that house on the backside and retain the land, just sort of land bank it for the future, you have to draw the footprint of the dadus, identify the footprint, and create the legal description in the HOA for the whole piece, right? In order to sell the front. Is there a division that is running ahead of your construction crew that does just that? And then, okay, we've got 2 dadus, all permitted, all ready to go. We own the land free and clear. And now you could wait for the proper moment to sell, right? To build and sell. Because building, let's say it took you 7 months with everything ready to build it, get it on the market, and it's gone. Is that a part of the strategy?
You can. Definitely you can create the HOA and the overlay, and then just sell the existing house before you even start the permits on the dadu.
Do you lose an economy of scale with crews there working on the house? Do you like to say, okay, we're doing concrete in the front yard, let's pour a foundation on the backyard at the same time?
I think we just need to let the buyer know or the renter know that that's what's going to be happening in the next year or so. And hopefully they understand. And, and we got to put in the clause of their PSA that, once we need you to sign something, because they also have to authorize the new condo, because we'll have to have a new condo docs drawn up once we figure out what it is that we're actually doing in the backyard. So they'll have to sign again.
But what you do have to have laid out is the footprint of each of the buildings.
Not necessarily.
Don't have to.
No.
You can just divide the lot.
This is your little corner, with the yard or with the fence, but the back belongs to us for now.
To be determined.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I thought you had to have the footprints delineated. Huh. Wow. Well, some great opportunity, and you can see how weaving the tools of owner financing into this just changes everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. With that acquisition in front on a note, substitute the collateral, build it out, sell it. You're now green ahead to be able to then start, maybe even build the back out of those proceeds because there's no debt to pay off. Yeah, fantastic. Wow. Okay, so we just came from Maui, and the world of commercial was talked about a lot in Maui.
Wow.
Tell me, this is unscripted because we didn't even have this under our belt when I wrote this outline. So, but I'm curious in that you're a developer, you're a builder. What opportunities did you see there that may be rattling in your brain to pursue?
I think it was Chris that talked about the condo garage, and of course, I love cars, and I was like, oh, okay, a man cave for cars, and that was an opportunity. And then also I believe it was Darren that spoke about finding land and then putting like a Raising Cane there, and how they ran the analysis and stuff like that. So those things would be something I'd be interested in. Maybe in the future, but I like to stick to my lane. I don't want to have that shiny syndrome.
Not going to build a golf course or a restaurant anytime soon.
No, I'll just pay to play.
Well, I think that there's a real barrier, a mental barrier with a lot of people that, for some reason, they look at a remodel and they think, oh, okay, I could get my head around that and I can make that better. But boy, you have a discussion about new construction and they just glaze over. They just can't conceive of it. But I love that barrier, if there ever was one, is long gone with you, because once you're able to confidently look at a set of plans, a piece of dirt, understand your undergrounds, your utilities, your slopes, man, it's so much cleaner. It just, you can plan it out, you can bid it out before you ever start, you can have contracts written. It's so much more predictable than any remodel you'll ever do. So, but also it opens up all kinds of product types, because if you can build a house from start to finish, oh my God, you could build a 40-unit flex space in light industrial or something like this. I mean, this is like half of a house.
Yes.
It's not even finished. You're done.
Yep.
I love that idea of RV storage, like Don presented. It's like, wow, it's basically undergrounds and a few pole buildings. No big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love how he did it in phases.
Yes.
And he's just taking his time, and that was an amazing project.
Yeah. Well, these are the things we have to learn. But how many people do you have on your crew? Tell me what their roles are.
We have 16 members. 3 superintendents, a project coordinator, a designer, a bookkeeper. And probably looking to expand more next year.
So the superintendents are on site?
Yes.
So everybody's got their projects that they're, and tell me about their reporting in. Do they log in every day with pictures of progress and
Yeah, so we use a AI app that is being developed right now called Clutch AI. And so it's really a SMS, but it talks to the AI bot that will take the picture, and they can just say, hey, I'm at 4023 53rd Avenue Southwest, and then they start taking pictures, and just like you're texting somebody, and you can put this bathroom or this is a rough in for the kitchen, and then just take the picture, upload it, and it'll try to organize it for you. And then the evolution of that software is hopefully it'll just automatically assign the contractor if there's a punch list item, right? So if you said something like this bulb needs to be fixed or this circuit's not working, that should automatically assign to that electrician that we have for that project. And it coordinates the scheduling between, homeowner and the electrician without us being involved. Because warranty work takes up a lot of our time as far as finding the scheduling that works for everybody. And so hopefully that's the software will get there quicker than it is right now. But
kind of warranty do you offer?
Well, as a builder, you need to at least offer a year. Yeah, but sometimes we go over just because, our reputation means more to me than.
And do you bond and or insure for that reality? I mean, you've got a warranty, but is there? Do you have insurance in case something went horribly wrong?
Oh yeah. Well, we have a GC license, and we pay like $80,000 a year in general liability. So yes.
Okay. The warranties. Is there a different warranty for a single family standalone home versus a condominium? No. There used to be a much higher warranty requirement on condominiums,
but that might be a different type of condominium, like for the big the big buildings. Yeah, but this one is no.
Just treated like a house.
Yeah.
Okay, back to your crew. Then you've got superintendents, and then you've got a scheduler. So are they scheduling materials and subs for all the projects?
Yeah, so she gathers all the bids, sends out bid requests, and follow up with people who don't give us a bid request. And so we try to get the budget in place, and then coordinate with water meter applications, power applications, gas applications. So she does all that. And then we have a designer that does all pick out the finishes. And then our bookkeeper who's...
Does the designer work with any of the buyers if they buy in the early stages?
We haven't.
Do you even allow for that?
Yeah, I think it just causes more work.
Right.
We just haven't done that.
You finish it before any buyer looks at it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with you.
Yeah.
The custom world. Oh my God.
Yeah. I didn't want I didn't want to have another boss.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. I think of a lady. I'm sure she's passed now. Tommy Keating. Oh my God. The one you will never please. It doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, lady, you're gonna wear me out. I don't know what to say. They don't make it any better than that. Oh God, yeah, it's causing a reaction. I'll get off of that. Okay, then the bookkeeper who handles everything on all projects,
invoices, everything.
Yeah,
paying the contractors.
Yeah. Do you have an office building that you work out of?
Yeah.
Did you buy the building?
No, not yet.
You're gonna build your own headquarters, right?
That's the plan.
Okay, that was a huge day in my life, building an office shop, and all those years of building a lot. It was designed around how that could function well for our business. But then, of course, you're not renting; you own the asset, and that's got to go on your list. Is that on the 2026 list? Build the world headquarters for everything Tang?
Maybe not 26, maybe by 28.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. All infill.
So for now.
Okay.
That is.
Is there any land development / build it out in your future?
Not yet. Not yet. We tried to do a four house short plat in Bothell. That took 4 or 5 years, and I sold it when it was preliminary approved. And I think that new buyer is still working on it. And I don't know. It might have been worth it if it was like a 50 lot short plat. But for 4, and you were just hanging on. Yeah, it's.
The last short plat I did, Jimmy, was a 2 lot short plat in the Alderwood area, and it took almost 3 years.
Yeah.
And $100 grand.
Yeah.
Of what? It was amazing. I thought, well, I'm done with that. I mean, infill, it's all approved. It's all there. You're not asking to change anything. No lot lines, nothing. Here it is. So I think that's not just efficient, but I think that fishing in a barrel of what you know is in demand. It seems like every time you develop new, you're in new territory. It's kind of like, well, we're gonna spend all this time and money developing this plat. we're going to build it, and we hope they come to where we are. You know, it's not that you can't use a lot of common sense there and go, yeah, this is in demand, you think. But why guess when anything that you build on Queen Anne Hill is going to be gone the minute it comes on the market if you've priced it right?
Yeah.
Right? Versus, well, I hope they find us here. That makes me nervous.
Yeah.
To me, that's real speculation.
Yeah.
I don't view what you're doing as speculation at all. Okay, tell me about this. This is you mentioned it, but I want to go back there. Just because you can build it doesn't mean you should.
Right.
I've walked through a few of these maximized lots with house and dadoos that it feels like there's 5 feet between buildings. There's no anywhere. There's no parking. You got to park down the street. You have to walk by the main house's dining room window to get back to your unit. And I think, wow, so is that just a common sense thing? Or is that, have you run into that where you go, I could, but I'm not going to?
You know, at the beginning stages of about 5 years ago, I would squeeze everything in if possible. But as you get more experience, you definitely know that people, you know, some people only just put in the dadu with the existing home and not ADU and dadu, just because the separation is just, adding an ADU just takes a lot of the value out of the SFR as well, right? But sometimes you probably just make just as much if you had an SFR and a dadu, because people pay a premium for a separation, right? So, I mean, there's people who will squeeze as many as they can, and I don't. It just take a little bit longer to sell, or maybe a lot longer to sell. But again, it all comes down to the neighborhood. If it's a very desirable neighborhood, and people are just used to close units, then Capitol Hill, you know, First Hill in Seattle. So those units, people are used to that because of townhouses anyways. But if you're going more Maple Leaf, Northgate, you know, I think you should be more cautious or conscious about how you design it. And again, what I mentioned about earlier is like, just because you can fit that many units doesn't mean that you should, because also you might not make more profit, you know?
Right.
So just be aware of that when you run your numbers, to have different scenarios. And
talk to me about the relationship you have with your subs. You get, you know, subcontractors. I assume you use this, not always, but the same guys again and again, theoretically. Do you check their math on every project?
we do.
Do you bid out every project?
Yeah, we do. And we also, you know, get 2 new bids all the time to check to make sure, you know, we're still in line with the pricing. And yeah, we work with a regular electrician, plumber, HVAC guys, but we always try to get new bids, because sometimes we also run into multiple projects that happen at the same time, and we don't really want to wait till he's done, because most of my guys are like 1 or 2 guys. They're not a big outfit, but like multiple employees. So getting on their schedule is sometimes hard, because they also have other builders or investors that they work with.
Right.
So we always try to get a second and third backup. And it's always good to check their numbers, you know, because prices are always changing lately, you know. Electrician, drywall people, and drywall materials.
Sure, cost of materials makes
so
everything
they always
change.
go up, and so you always got to make sure you're on top of it. And
right, and you check license, bond, and insurance with everybody.
Oh yeah.
There's somebody on your team that does that and has a current file on everybody,
Yep,
right?
and it has to be an additional insured on their insurance policy.
Absolutely. Yep.
Lien waivers.
Yep.
You know, get that signed before you give that check.
Absolutely.
And check to make sure like they're not a middleman, and they're just hired a bunch of framers, and somehow they didn't pay the framers. And so those framers can go back and lien your property,
right?
Even if you didn't hire them. But so just be careful, and maybe ask them up front and be like, is this your crew, or are they on your payroll, or is this,
Are you subbing this
yeah.
out? Right.
And then, you say, okay, that's fine, but, I want to make sure they sign the lien waiver too. And so just have that kind of conversation with those people you hire.
This is, I knew this would go this way because you're very detail oriented, but I can't tell you how many help Mr. Wizard calls I get to where it's like, I've already paid this guy and he's now he's leaning the job. And I said, you mean you paid him without that being signed? Or, I'll say, gosh, I just got too busy and I forgot about it. But now what do I do?
Yeah.
Well, now you're in a mess.
Yeah.
That's what you do, So these details are critically important.
Yeah.
Let's talk about marketing, because these have got to go on the market. Do you have in-house? You take it to the listing world that lists it for you? Do you have a person, a team? Do you shop that out every time? What do you do?
Well, no, because most of our deals are off market. They're usually brought by agents, real estate agents. So we usually give them the list back.
I see.
Yeah, and that's why, I think a lot of the agents love to work with us. Because a lot of the big builders, they have their own representation, which, I understand why. But so most of our deals are, we have listbacks deals with the agents.
Do you check their marketing credentials on the listback side?
Yeah.
Do you say, I want to give you the listback, but I also want to know that you are a listing agent that performs? Do you have any other criteria?
Well, I haven't done that, but lately I've been telling all the agents that I've been talking to, or new agents that are sending me deals, that I'm like, I'll give you 6 months. And if 6 months you can't sell something, I think it's just fair that I could try someone new, right? And of course, they're reluctant, but I'm like, I think I can't just let you keep going past 6 months if nothing is being done, right? And so, but I should work on like a checklist of things that I would love for them to do besides, open houses and all that. But I would love to see what kind of marketing they do as far as ads or social media ads, or, just how are you generating? Because I don't want you to just think that you can just put on the MLS and just sit and wait, right? I don't know if you need to make phone calls to prospective buyers or, just... I think that's what I need to improve on is asking them what kind of marketing plan they have in place. Yeah,
I really I think that it's fair. It falls into the heading of a valuable exchange. Okay, so you're bringing me this opportunity, and I'm paying you for that. Thank you so much. I've got the opportunity, and I've paid you for it. Right. Okay, now I'd like to talk to you about paying you to sell the property. And I want to, here's my expectations of that.
Yeah.
And here's that sheet. I'd like you to look at it. I'd like you to answer some questions. Because I find that this world that we're in is so specialized. There are those who are wholesaler dirt dogs that bring deals, but to ask them to represent a sale would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
They wouldn't know the first thing. Now they're going to have a license even to be a wholesaler, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean they have marketing skills.
Right.
And so marketing in this day and age is so visual. People buy the house before they even drive up based on the presentation on Instagram, all of the various ways that people put this out there.
Yeah.
I think that's one of those areas that it makes a huge difference who's on the listing side. Yeah. I get the reciprocal business, but maybe you would have the right within their firm or their team to pick the person that they're associated with, to do that.
Yeah.
So,
good idea.
Yeah. So, do you have a volume goal a year that you try to hit? Is it economically tied to how you perceive the market? If I were to ask you in 26 how many units you would like to buy, build, and sell, do you have a number in your head?
We have 50 in the pipeline.
Okay. So
the deals are going to be breaking ground, 50.
Okay.
so far.
Okay.
That we have tied up in permitting or tied up.
Yeah.
After Maui, my goal is to hit 100 million by 2028.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll probably take me 125 units.
Okay.
So we're gearing up
by 28, 125 units.
Yeah. So I'm gearing up the team to scale it up, the team to be a little bit bigger to handle that volume.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's fantastic. It really is. And the thing I love about it most to me is that it is infill. It's not messing with the land development side. Not that doesn't have a place, but you've got an expertise here and a template.
Yeah.
And when you get that template, I love how you say, I'm going to just stay in my lane. Tell me about outside of your business. Where do you see real estate playing in your life? Do you have a dream of building an amazing home for yourself, homes in other places? Any other goals that really are not driven by the business and making money? Do you see real estate playing itself out? A dream home. That one in that glass case took me 8 years to build right there.
Well, that is exactly what I would love to do.
Yeah.
Build something that I can be creative without worrying about a budget. Mm-hmm. And so I would love to build it, I would think waterfront, but again, I don't know anywhere else that I would want to build it at, a different state, different country. But at least here, I would love to build something that I can design and not worry about the budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The crazy thing about construction, and I don't know what you would consider to be a price per square foot on the low end. It changes all the time. But
yeah.
Let's just say $250.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just say that number. The thing about construction, as you know, is that it may have a floor,
yeah.
and you can't be much more efficient than that.
Right.
But it has no ceiling.
Yeah.
That was $1,180 a foot at my cost. I mean, there is no contractor, anything built on top of that. That was just so there's no ceiling,
mm-hmm.
and so to be able to do that once in your life it really is a privilege to be able to just do it. And I won't say that there was no worry about money or anything like
mm-hmm.
that. It seemed like I was drowning for 8 years, but I didn't want to compromise the design, the materials, the integrity, and I wanted to pull it off.
Yeah.
And it took a real effort, but it landed. But it's one of those problems. If you feel stressed about that, don't bitch to anybody, because nobody's going to feel sorry for you.
Yeah.
But you met Chris Erdman in Maui, and
mm-hmm.
He's wrapping up a project in the next few weeks. I saw that piece of dirt 12 years ago on a day on the street with him, and I went, oh my gosh, Chris, wow, this site, this deserves like an amazing design where you really build exactly what this land deserves because of what you're looking at, this outlook, and oh my gosh, it's just stunning, and to be able to really take your time to draw something and think it out. I just walked through that. I was up in that area a couple of weeks ago, and I said, give me that address again. I'm going through it. I hope somebody's there to let me in, or I'll break in. And there was somebody there working, so I was able to walk through it. It's a few weeks out from being done.
Oh, okay.
But to be able to do that is a real treat. Mm-hmm. To take your skills, everything you've learned, and put it into your own place.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So is there a time frame on that goal?
If I hit the 100 million.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's beautiful. It's going to have a big garage.
Probably 12
car lifts.
Yeah.
What's your favorite car?
Always been a dream to have a Lamborghini.
Yeah.
Yeah, Countach, but
What are they, about $2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus 6 more zeros. They're about $2 million each.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, anything's possible, right?
That is right. That is right.
You have is your family, your mom, and are they still in this area?
Oh no, my mom never came here. And
She
so,
never. I thought you didn't. She's not come over after the fact. No. Wow.
So I've been back about 4 times the 40 years that I've been here. And we're going back again in December with the family so that she'll get to meet the grandkids for the first time.
Wow.
But yeah, she's...
oh my gosh. It's so different, but then again, the circumstances at day one were different. So you adapted the best you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't blame her for making that decision. I mean, I still probably, this trip I will probably ask her, because I, hear stories of what her reason was from my aunts and uncles on my dad's side. My grandmother even told me, but, I don't know what it's true. And so I just want to hear from her mouth. And yeah, and, I mean, because if she kept me in Vietnam, I have a totally different life. Or even if she came over here, I would probably be a little bit more spoiled and not as hardworking, or So right. I wouldn't change a thing.
Isn't that? I think that's one of those things that when you can take what anybody would describe as adversity, if you can frame it right, if you can somehow frame it to be your superpower, isn't all the momentum is already provided for you. You just have to redirect the momentum in a positive way, and you've done that. You've done that. Your work ethic. Give me a typical work week for you. I mean, give me like Monday through Friday. What would a typical week look like for you in terms of when you're on point working, kind of when you wrap up a day in a typical 7-day week?
So I work, Monday through Friday, but always checking on my phone and stuff like that. Wake up, take care of the kids, get them ready for school, work out from 8:30 to about 10:30. Try to stay off the phone during that time, and then, get ready and go into the office by 11:30. Have my meetings with the team, meetings with investors, meeting with potential deals. I don't really go to the sites. I leave that up to the superintendents, but I'll visit if they need my help, or I just want to routinely check on the project and see the progress, because it's actually fun, to see the progress. And that's really it. It's Monday through Friday, just that. It's really looking at the numbers.
Is there any proactive marketing going out of your office for acquisition opportunities?
No. But we're looking to restart that. So, because, I want to see if we can get more seller financing deals, because a lot of the wholesalers and agents, they don't know how to get those terms.
Right.
Or even builder terms. They don't understand that, so they, I just want a quick closing. And that's,
right.
Even for us, permits usually took 9 to 12 months. And if you times that by, let's just say, a cost of a house in Seattle is $700,000, 7,000 times 9, 10 months, you're out 70,000 of your profit already, right? If you had to buy that right away.
Yep.
So that alone, if you knew how to, if the wholesalers or the agent knew how to try to incorporate that into their negotiation skills, that would that would help any builder, right? And so,
oh my gosh,
yeah,
no.
So that's why I want to
options.
Restart. Yeah,
I'd like to give you X amount of dollars to have an option to buy it in X amount of time at this price.
Yeah,
that's a tool. Of course, owner finance with deferred interest, etc. I mean, so many different ways of structuring that could make a lot of money on your end and still get the seller where they're going. Frame it that, listen, I want to give you the time you need to get out. I want to start the process on this end. Yeah. How about we draft a note that looks like this? Gosh, so many different ways you can go at it.
Yeah.
And But you're right. You've got to be the first point of contact there.
Yeah.
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 So I want to kickstart the wholesaling division.
Well, get a license, right? You're going to have to get somebody on your team to have a license, because now even to solicit, you've got to have a real estate license.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. New laws coming all the time, right?
I think I'll pass.
Get somebody on your team to have it. Oh, man. Well, this is so inspiring to me. The beginning all the way through. How old are your kids now?
I have a 7-year-old daughter, and my twin boys are 5.
5.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. A handful. A real handful.
Not as full as yours.
Well, it still. I've got twins too. Did you know that?
Yeah, Amy.
My grandkids. Yeah, Amy's daughters are now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got 5-year-old twins. I've got 15-year-old grandkids that are twins. Yeah, and then a few younger than that of my own. Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. The world's got a lot of kids, but I think it's inspiring that when you're running a company, you're trying to do things right at home. You're trying to be a good dad. You're trying to, make payroll. You're trying to be responsible from all the various agencies and reporting and this and that and the other thing. Building, some people would get halfway through that small paragraph and go, no way, I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But you've grown into it. It's what you know. Mm-hmm. They say if you want something done, find the busiest person you've ever met and hand it to them. They'll get it done because they know how to weave and incorporate all of this in. To me, it's the greatest challenge of entrepreneurship is that you're the CEO of every department. Whether you know anything about it or not, you're still the one in charge.
Yeah. So
I'd say you're doing a great job, pal.
Thank you.
Your office is in the East Lake area?
Yes.
Yeah. Give me some coordinates.
So not Roanoke.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And East Lake.
Yeah. Roanoke and East Lake Avenue. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been
It's
blessed to have
red brick building.
I've been blessed to have, I don't know, maybe
Frankly, I think
6 or 7, 8 buildings in the East Lake area that
Yeah.
I think that's one of the greatest investment areas in all of Seattle for multiplex for sure.
Can't beat that view.
Yeah, you can't beat it. Yeah, it's super area. Your morning workout could incorporate a little rowing school, put it in Lake Union, right down to SPU and back every day.
Yeah.
Might think about that.
Yeah, maybe.
Add to your workout program.
Right. Summertime.
How do people get a hold of Jimmy Tang? Because I have a challenge sometimes, but it's gotten a lot better. I will tell you. It used to be that was I'd have to send bombs or something, but now you're getting better. But how do people get a hold of you to just comment and connect?
Social media. Just look up Jimmy Tang, and
That's the easiest way.
I think so.
Okay. Do you have a website at your company?
TangREI.com.
TangREI.com. Beautiful, buddy. Well, listen, taking your time to be here at this podcast, and I appreciate it. And you brought a little studio audience with Greg, who I just met, and Chloe, who was here last. She sat through it. So let's go have some dinner. Thank you very much for being here. Till we do this again, I appreciate you watching this podcast, and we'll keep it going. Thanks again. Pinneo out.